What is up? Do I have wait, I didn't even check my okay. We got the mic right. Let me check the chat. Who's here? I see 22 people. Twins fan, that's an OG right there. What up, bro? Super low. Stevie Hutch. My boy Zach. Sorry about the Wolf Pack last night, Zach. Waiting patiently. Right. Nah, we got you. I'm about to get J-Man on here. Then I'm going to have Matt Geist on here. Can I share my final bracket in Northern Iowa over St. John's? I'll answer that in a second. Let me just settle in. What up? What up? What up? Shout out Cole Adams always. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to everyone who's been watching the content. I've been pumping out content like I never have before, which has been awesome. No way. We got buried trays in the building. Oh yeah. Have I been too quiet? Can y'all hear me? Is my volume good? I got a nice microphone for Christmas. It should be good. I got 5 books stacked, so it's like close to my. It's like right here. Hey, I appreciate that. You know what, the Hook 45. I appreciate you. I'm gonna answer your question first. Why do I have Northern Iowa over St. John's? Well, one, I want to have a couple upsets, and you know all these teams are like big dogs. All these mid majors are big dogs, but let me screen share KenPom. Give me a second. Screen sharing like under pressure is difficult. Why do I like Northern Iowa? Because look how good this team was when Tristan Smith. So Tristan Smith missed a chunk of games. They lost 6 of 8 games without him. He got back into the starting lineup in March. They've been playing really well. I really like the way they played in the Missouri Valley tournament. I love what they did in non-con, taking Wichita to overtime. You go and win at UC Irvine, beat Oakland, at St. Mary's. Thought they were really good in that game. That's a tough matchup with those big dudes, with Morauskas. They're just tough. They play. I don't care that on paper they're not that huge. They are so sound defensively, and they will dare you to shoot threes with your non. They would leave Morauskas like when they played St. Mary's, and he shot 1 of 7. That could be like Bryce Hopkins. It could be. I mean, Mitchell's not a shooter, right? And we've seen St. John's have games where you can just really see their lack of perimeter shooting. Who on St. John's, when they shoot it, do I think it's going in? Sellers and Sandin. That's it. And Sandin is shooting 34%. He's a better shooter than that, in my opinion. Sellers shooting 35%. I think he's a better shooter than that too. But like, sure, Zuby will take it if he's wide open. Mitchell's not shooting it. Bryce, he went 2 for 2 that game. But come on, Bryce Hopkins is not a shooter. Dylan Darling's an okay shooter. Ian Jackson barely plays. Ruben Prey can shoot, but he barely plays too. But basically, they are going to be so positionally sound and ready to frustrate St. John's. St. John's bullied their way through the Big East. They're very familiar with how UConn runs offense, which is why they were able to beat them here and there. But like this game, I understand it was an outlier. Like they missed everything, but that was a big game at UConn. What was another big game? I don't know. Maybe Arkansas in the tournament. And sure, Northern Iowa doesn't have the athletes that Arkansas team had, but like it's a team that can go really cold. And sure, of course, there's a world where St. John's they're too athletic. They get to the free throw line too much. They live at the line against Northern Iowa, and they just overwhelm them. But I think Northern Iowa has a legit shot to frustrate the hell out of St. John's and beat them. Who in the chat agrees? I got to catch up on the chat. What up, Adam? Funny story about Adam. Adam hit me on LinkedIn once asking what my favorite futures picks were. That's respect. That's a fan of the content right now. And here's how you pronounce my last name. Ojakjian. It's Armenian. What's up, Matt? Oh, yeah, you can hear me. Oh, we can get messages from Twitter. I didn't know that. What's up, Sean? Thank you. I appreciate that. What up, James? How we doing, man? Anything can happen in March. All right, I gotta catch up to the chat. What worries me most about Arkansas? Don't love the path. You have to play Wisconsin. Oh shoot, I sent the wrong link to J-Man. Give me 1 second. I sent him the link to something totally different. He'll be here in a second. What worries me most about Arkansas is that, well, I think the team's really fantastic. I think there are some perimeter defense issues. I just don't love the draw. I don't know if Hawaii's actually going to beat them, but I think it's a tough matchup. I think Wisconsin could beat them. And then you got to play Arizona, who's my champion pick. So if Arkansas was where Alabama was or where Nebraska was, I could talk myself into them making a deep run for sure. Thank you, Carter. How far of a run do I think Wisconsin can have? Again, don't love their draw. Even High Point's not a great matchup for them. I think they're too good. Like Boyd's gotten disrespected on some awards things too. Like I expect Nick Boyd to be like really dialed in. And the way that Wisconsin's bigs can space it out is what made them a matchup problem for the Michigans of the world. You know, even Purdue, right? When he had Mackey. Here's my boy. What up, J-Man?
What up, baby?
Man. We'll try to answer as many questions as you can. If you have Duke or ACC questions, though, J-Man is your guy. So if I see those, I will go to those first. But we can do some rapid fire too. All right, let's start with this. What is your fear factor level of a TCU Duke matchup if you don't have Gongba?
I mean, it makes me nervous, dude. Just not even Gongba. Like Gongba obviously makes me nervous, but TCU loves to wreak havoc too, and this is something where I think they can put a lot of pressure on Caden Boozer. Like they love to really try and jump passing lanes and be aggressive and steal. And we saw kind of Florida State rattle him in that first game, obviously in the ACC tournament, and then he got into a rhythm against Clemson, and then got into a really good rhythm against Virginia. But you know, TCU, the way they can play defense, and Jamie Dixon, he coaches those boys up on that defensive end, and I just they have me worried, and then obviously Ohio State has me worried. Like that 8-9 game is very mean, Christian. I couldn't even like relax on Selection Sunday when I saw the 8-9 matchup because I immediately thought, oh boy, this is going to be an interesting 1 versus 8-9.
Yeah, like right off the top, too, you didn't even get a second to breathe. So Carter wants to know what's Duke's biggest weakness. The obvious thing is the lack of depth right now, but I want to know your answer. My answer is can Caden Boozer string together games of good decision making and shooting? You know, because we know the effort plays he has, the trust he has with his brother, the staff trusts him. He does a lot. He's good in the pick and roll, but it's kind of my issue with Michigan. It's like, do I think a team where Elliot Cadeau is playing 36, 38 minutes can win 6 games in a row? Like, I don't. Is that how you feel about Caden, or is it different?
Yeah, no, that's like, I don't know. I feel the same way with you as you do. Like, Caden played, I think, all 40 minutes against Virginia in the ACC championship. And as great as that is, he's going to have struggles in March Madness. It's just what's going to happen. I mean, he's a freshman at the end of the day, and he's going to have those lumps. And so to not really have a guy to take that off of him, like Nick Kamenia brought the ball up a few times for Duke just to get them into something, throw to Cam Boozer, then he ran whatever Duke needed to run. But that is the depth. The depth is a concern, and that is something that every team deals with, every team has to deal with at some point. It just happens for Duke to be the worst time of the year to go with depth problem, where you're missing your starting center for probably at least the first round, maybe the second round, and you're losing your starting point guard until hopefully the Final Four. But that's probably Duke's biggest weakness. And then just you never know what you're going to get out of Dame Sarr offensively. And same with Nick Kamenia. Kamenia was awesome in the ACC tournament run, but we've seen him struggle a couple of times in the 2 matchups against UNC and I think even NC State maybe, where he kind of struggled to get a rhythm going. If both those guys struggle with the lack of depth Duke has, it's a lot more weight for Cam Boozer and Isaiah Evans to step up and carry the boatload.
So here's a point from Gavin. You know, TCU is the type of matchup where that's highlighted, and what are your thoughts on this, on his ability to make decisions out of pick and roll versus a team playing drop versus his ability to make decisions out of pick and roll versus a team heating up the ball more?
So he is more, I think he's more comfortable against a team that does drop covers.
Wait, real quick to interrupt you before I say it. If they do heat up the ball, doesn't that mean you get it into Cam Boozer's hands quicker though with a 4-on-3? If Caden can get the ball to him?
Yeah. If Caden can get the ball, and honestly, he's better against drop because that's when he can utilize his floater and he can play the 2-on-1 to where, am I going to shoot a floater if you stay on your man, or am I going to act like I'm shooting a floater when you commit to me and it's a lob near the rim, which he's done all year. And so he definitely benefits from the drop coverage a lot more. And then TCU, it's just going to be a different ball game. But I think at the end of the day, Christian, I cannot doubt John Shire knowing how to draw up a game plan against that type of defensive coverage to give a pressure release for Caden Boozer if TCU tries to get him in hell early.
Here's how I see TCU also. They're the type of team where offensively, sometimes you're watching them, you're like, hold up. This is a good offensive team. Like, Pierre and Harding are just making plays at the bounce, like Edmonds and Puncher mismatches. The guy with the long name with the double L's that I always forget to say. Like, but then there's moments where it's just rough. And I think about even the TCU teams that I liked more, when it was Micah Peavy and Jacoby Coles like a couple years ago. And that team I would see them like catching 9.5 at Iowa State. And I'm like, oh, like that's a lot of points. TCU is pretty good. I'll take that. And then they just can't function offensively. Like TCU could score like 55 points against Duke. Like that's also a very live outcome in my opinion.
Yeah, no, you're right. And honestly, the thing that makes Duke so tough is they're comfortable with winning a high scoring margin, like they won at Florida State 91-87, or they're comfortable with a rock fight where they win 65-55. That's what's been impressive about them in back-to-back years for me. And so if it is that way and Duke holds them to 55 points, I think TCU will also try and muck it up, and that could be an interesting game going into the second round if TCU is to advance, because Ohio State, I'm not looking past Bruce Thornton. I don't want him to think that, because I'm losing sleep over here looking at his synergy and seeing that he's in the 90th percentile in 5 separate categories.
Just wanted to shout out the chat really quick. The last time I went live, I had like 40 people in here, so the fact that it's 250 is nuts, and I'm going to try my best to address things. While I have J-Man, I saw somebody ask about Virginia, and don't want to get ahead of ourselves before we see they got to beat Wright State first, but how do you feel about Virginia making a deep run, taking down a Tennessee, taking down Iowa State? They are a team that outside of 2 games against Duke, haven't really seen them against elite teams, but when you talk about a team that goes 9 deep, old experienced guards, rim protection, wild card guys like a Jakari White who can get hot, Sam Lewis, who I think is a pro, 9 really good dudes. We just haven't seen them consistently playing against elite teams. How high are you on Virginia?
I'm very high, Christian. I wrote for Action before the season started, a dark horse team to win the ACC, and I picked Virginia. I think it was 20-1 when it came out, and they finished second. Duke just ran the table, but I really love what Ryan Odom did in the portal, getting every type of player to build the perfect roster. He got a shot blocker and Onyenso, the point guard position with Dallin Hall, and then Chance Mallory's been fantastic. And then the scores with Malik Thomas and Sam Lewis. Not even to mention 22-year-old Tez DeRitter, who was, I think, first team all ACC. Just a great roster construction year one for Ryan Odom. And I'm very high on this team. I think they've been playing since January 1st, since the calendar turned to 2026. I think they're the 10th best team via Bart Torvik in the country. I think that's right when I was doing a write-up for them against Wright State. I love this team. I think they can beat Iowa State if they advance that far and they match up. What was that, the Sweet 16, I think?
Yeah.
And I think they can pull that off, and they could be a dark horse team to make the Final Four. I truly believe that. I was shocked when Duke beat them as much as they did in Cameron, but when your 3 best shooters combine for 1 of 20 from 3, you're going to lose those games by a lot. And I tell you what, Odom was never rattled after that game, and you could tell the poise he had. And boy, is that team impressive. I love that team.
Yeah, I've really came around on them lately, and as I've tried to pick teams that I have a shot at the Final Four that aren't 1s or 2s, not that I even love the 2s, honestly. Like, let's be real. Florida, Houston out of the South, Duke out of the East, Arizona out of the West, and Michigan out of the Midwest. I would say there's a high probability we get 3 of those 5 teams in the Final Four. So, but I also am confident that some team's going to get in there that we're not expecting in a non-chalky way. And Virginia has risen up my list lately because I can just picture in a winner go home setting against a Tennessee team, an Iowa State team. I'm just like, Virginia's just got more optionality and more players on both ends of the floor. And like, there's just a lot of ways they can beat you. Who calling me I'm on a live stream? Why am I getting a spam call during a live stream? Come on.
You got a chat member calling you. I'll leak your phone number.
Yeah, we're not taking Collins yet. Maybe in the future. We're gonna need to build a team. Yo, shout out the chat. The chat is going. We're gonna do some rapid fire. I have $5 on Vandy preseason, but that's all. Riley had a good question above here. What was it, Riley? I'm having trouble navigating this chat, y'all.
You're blowing up, baby. I love to see it.
Oh, it was Nas Reed. What up? We got Big Jelly himself in the chat. Oh, we already did that. We didn't talk about a potential Virginia-Michigan matchup. I don't know if you have thoughts there.
I mean, Virginia is vulnerable. Michigan's vulnerable for a team like Virginia. And, with what Malik Thomas and Sam Lewis did in the ACC tournament, especially Sam Lewis, who, he was kind of Jekyll and Hyde throughout the ACC play regular season play. And then he got hot in the tournament. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, I'm not going to say that's crazy that Virginia could not knock off Michigan. I think that's a real chance.
This is what my boy Riley said. I agree with this. So Vanderbilt would play Florida in the Sweet 16 and UCLA would play Michigan State in the Sweet 16. That's just kind of – I don't really have a lot to say. I just think that's stupid for both teams. For the higher seeds, for the Florida, it's like, why do we have to see these guys again? We already played them twice. Like, what are we doing in the Sweet 16? It's like it's not like a Duke Carolina meeting in the Final Four. Sorry, but it's it's the Sweet 16. Like, what are we doing? And same with Michigan State. It's like we just played these guys, but we're not necessarily sure we'll get that. Eric, we will talk about that later. Eric's a close friend of mine. We do survivor pools together, so that's not where we're at. How real is Michigan State's path to Elite Eight? Are you a Michigan State bleeder, J-Man?
I don't know, dude. I go back and forth on them, to be honest. Like, I don't know. I don't know. Just that offense sometimes gets so stagnant and it scares the hell out of me. You know what I mean? Like, I could just see them, like, they're good defensively, but, if Jeremy Fierce doesn't keep his foot down and he might just get thrown out of a game or get a technical in a pivotal moment, all jokes aside, like, I don't know. That offense sometimes leaves a lot to be desired, and I think they could get bounced. So I don't know. I have them going decently far. I'm trying to pull up my bracket, but I wouldn't be surprised if they were a team that got upset.
I agree. It can be boiled down to 1 second. Their offense just hurts my eyes too much for me to like really believe in them going far. But that was kind of the case last year, and they made the Elite Eight. However, they had Jace Richardson last year. They don't have a dude who can just kind of explode like that. But I think it's a really tough matchup for USF, who I think is going to be Louisville. Do you have any thoughts on that matchup as well? I know it was already trendy. It became more trendy when Michael Brown was ruled out. I kind of hot take, and I think maybe the Ewing theory and some of the on-off splits might reflect this. I don't think Louisville's that much better with Michael Brown. They've had games where they've looked the best this season when Michael's playing, when they beat the crap at NC State and he hits 10 threes. Like, obviously an incredibly talented player, but the way the system runs, how good Conwell is, the rim pressure, and Adrian Woolley provides, I don't think it's that big of a difference in this game. I lean USF, but Louisville's very good, and they're kind of being, kicked to the gutter as like the easiest team to fade right now.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a Mikel Brown. So I agree with you that they are kind of similar without Mikel Brown. I just think this is more of a fade Pat Kelsey thing, to where the jury's still out for him to see if he can win a big game. And I like Pat Kelsey. Like, I've played against him when I was the bye game where they beat us by 40 points. I was at T3. So I've known him since he was at Winthrop. And it's just, this year and the last year, it's just, you look at the wins that he's had, and he had a couple good wins until they lost in the ACC tournament. Like, the win at Miami was very impressive. And, I thought that could build some momentum, but I think he's 0-5 against – he's never won a NCAA tournament game. I think he's 0-5 against the spread. I think that's what I saw. And, that's – now he's a favorite, and to try and win his first game against USF without his star point guard, I like USF in that matchup. I really do. And I like what USF can do with the ball in their hands too, offensively.
An interesting note from Gavin. The one counter I have, I think the biggest pro USF point I have is Isaiah Nelson's the best big guy on the floor. And I understand Louisville has optionality because you can do the Khalifa wrinkle, which I always love those 12 minutes. They're always very fun and exciting. of Louisville doing the Zoom and Khalifa just dropping dimes. He'll get you 3 assists in 10 minutes like it's nothing. And Zugris has been hard nosed and given some good minutes. Frew is so meh to me, and I don't know. I think
I'm with you.
The Kelsey teams look best when they are crashing the offensive glass, and like this team just Javon Hadley has been hooping though. By the way, I think he's going to be a matchup problem. Yeah, I'm not jumping to like bet USF, but I pick them in my bracket because I think Michigan State's going to clean up whoever they play. Any other thoughts on what Gavin just said?
Yeah, let's see. One flying out ball screens won't let me transition. Yeah, I mean, I understand that. It's just I got USF at a good number. I got them at +7 in this game, and I think it is going to be a 5 point. If they lose, it's going to be a 1 to 2 possession game. And I just think what you said about the front court with Louisville, that's been my whole thing about them as well. Like Frew, every time I watch him against a good team, he's just doesn't give anything. He's good against NC State's, but he's not really good against the Dukes or the Virginias. And USF obviously isn't that, but they're a tournament team, so it'd be a good test for Frew to see what he can do. And then Kenai Ruth, I don't know if he's hurt or not, but he played okay, I think, the last game they played in the ACC tournament, but that's a guy that I want to look out for too for Louisville.
Seeing some Texas comments. What do we think about a possible sneaky Texas run? My thoughts are, I think they're super talented. Vokatitis is super hard to stop. Mark and Swain hit so many nonsense shots at the end of the shot clock. Jordan Pope's a really good shot-making guard. But there's no reason that team should be so bad defensively. They're outside the top 100 defensively, and it's because they foul. They're out of position, and Pope is a kind of a guy you can hunt. I am higher, I think, than consensus on BYU because I thought since that second half of the Texas Tech game, I think BYU's been awesome. I've loved the way the role players have played. I don't know if it's enough to beat Gonzaga. If Texas does, if Swain's a good body throw at AJ and Texas hits shots and, gets Kada in foul trouble and we're seeing like Boscovich and whoever out there, I could definitely see Texas taking out BYU, but a run for Texas, I think Gonzaga would pick them apart. A Gonzaga offense is not even as good as typical Gonzaga offenses. Thoughts on that, J-Man?
Yeah, I have Texas winning straight up against BYU just because I've watched way too much BYU defense it makes me sick to my stomach.
But they turn up the Jets sometimes, J-Man.
They do, but this is what screwed me. I did a preview for this Texas and BYU game for sleepers that is coming out, and I talked about BYU. They duped me once. When they lost Richie Saunders, they went to Arizona, and they only lost like 75-69, and then they beat Iowa State and only gave up 69 points. I was like, the defense finally turned a corner. Then that next game was UCF at home. They gave up 97 points late in that.
They did not miss a damn shot, though. Shout out Jordan Burks.
I get that, but now I'm seeing BYU play pretty good defense. The last 2 games, West Virginia outside of West Virginia is not a good team. They scored 48 points in the game in the conference tournament, and then they played Houston hard, and Houston outside of Fleming's, they can get ice cold. I'm just saying 3 games, like it's the 3rd game, just like I saw earlier this year or late in the end of the regular season. I can't get duped, Christian. I think this Texas team, as horrible as they played against that press against NC State, I don't think Sean Miller's ever coached a press break, but I think they stopped the skid of what they did at the end of the season. They can beat BYU because I talked about Jordan Pope. You talked about it too. BYU in the last 10 games has given up 40% from 3. Last 10 games, 40%. And Jordan Pope had 5 against NC State. I think we see a Jordan Pope where he's going to already laddered his – I know you're a ladder guy. Already laddered his 3s going up to 6 against BYU because his over-under is 2.5. He could go 6 of 10 against BYU because Rob Wright can go get a bucket, but he cannot guard this seashell that's right in front of me right here.
Well, I'm going to push back. I think Rob Wright can be up in Jordan Pope and be annoying. Sometimes they need to go down by 10 points for him to do that. Also, if we're talking ladders, if there's any sicko out there book that has Kadeem Boop rebounds, I will be interested in Kadeem Boop rebound alts because in a game like that, he has to play Kadeem Boop or else they're going to get killed on the glass and Vokatitis such a monster.
Yeah.
I love Kadeem Boop. If Kadeem Boop fan club is in here, shout out to you.
But I will say, because the question is, can Texas make a deep run? I think they beat BYU, but then they lose to Gonzaga. Even though I have BYU in my bracket, but I needed to switch that. That's my fault.
I think Furman's the best team, but I don't think they can do anything. I don't know much about Queens, to be honest. I know they got a couple good players that high major teams are already trying to steal.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of blowing out of proportion, I think. But Queens, is in Charlotte. I'm in Charlotte. They scored, I think, 85 points a game. Like, fun offense, but they don't have any answer for Purdue's front court. But then again, neither did Fairleigh Dickinson. But I'm with you with the 15-16 that those seeds, a lot of those 1 seeds didn't win the conference tournament, so we're not really seeing the best of the best out of those conferences.
Any thoughts on Cal Baptist? The Dominic Daniels mixtape is doing numbers on Twitter because he is an absolute hooper, but I don't think I'm going to take Bill Self to lose in the first round. How do you feel?
I'm with you. I love it. Like, he has great highlights, but you know what? At the end of the day, Kansas has Darren Peterson, Floyd Badunga might have a monster double-double, Melvin Council, and then Trey White. I like Kansas a lot in that matchup.
Yeah.
I agree with that, Gavin.
Purdue against some weaker competitions that, as how good Painter is, how good Braden is, Clough playing better and more confident, looking to assert himself a little bit more. It just reminds me of, like, honestly, like pre-dominant player of the year Zach Edey kind of Purdue, like when it was Jaden Ivey and Travion. That team stood out to me as, like, when they don't do stupid things, they can get an easy shot around the rim or an open 3, like almost every possession. And Purdue could have been a trendy, like, 4 seed, like I don't mean trend, I mean an underrated 4 seed entering this tournament if they didn't turn up in Chicago. But now, I don't know about Purdue Gonzaga, but I'm just so sold on Arizona that I haven't really considered the Purdue Final Four path. Do you have any thoughts there on Purdue?
I have a question for you about Purdue's path. What about your Missouri boys?
What about Zach wants to know about Miami? Let's
okay.
We'll talk Miami Mizzou after, but do you think Miami can beat Purdue?
Miami's offense, dude. It's just sometimes it's tough. Like, the ball stops moving. Malik Renault, he turns the ball over a lot when he gets pressured. He doesn't have
6 turnovers against Virginia.
He had 6 turnovers, and he never has the feel for when somebody's digging from behind him. He doesn't have that wherewithal to where I don't know. I don't think they could. I know Purdue's not the best defensive team, but there's also Trey Donaldson can shoot inefficiently. I think it's a tough matchup for Miami.
Yeah, my thing with Miami is bad draw in the sense of they're their best when they can control the glass, dominate the paint, get out in transition, and to play a Mizzou team that, is not a great defensive rebounding team. They do some boneheaded things sometimes, but, like, you're not bigger and athletic than them. They got a 6'10" dude at the 3. Mark Mitchell and Malik Renault are just going to, like, ram into each other. What happens when – I think that game's going to be decided by which of those – someone's getting in foul trouble in that game. And whoever's getting in foul trouble first, I think, is in trouble. But, like, Renault and Mark Mitchell are, like, the most similar players to each other in the country. So I just think Mizzou has more shooting. If it gets really tight defensively, I trust the team with more shooting. But then also I'm like, well, Jay Lucas is a better coach and Trey Donaldson's the best guard on the floor. So maybe I lean Miami. I made a video talking for 10 minutes about how I don't know who to pick in that game. But also for Purdue, I don't know if I think I still lean Purdue against both those teams.
Yeah, see, in my bracket, I've seen very good Missouri, as you've alluded to. You've talked about it for over a month now about Mizzou, but I've also seen awful Mizzou. But I have them. That's kind of like my sleeper Sweet 16 team. Is maybe this is a good fade of Purdue. They just knocked off Michigan to win the Big Ten tournament. They take care of Queens. They rout them. They score 110 points on 70 possessions, as Gavin said. And then they just lay an egg against Missouri because Missouri just guards and they hit threes randomly in the round of 32. And that's just, that's my spice on my bracket. And if you're a Purdue fan listening to this, I'm wrong a lot. So don't even worry about it. But I like Missouri to give a different wrinkle to Purdue.
Something Mizzou is really good at, and something I will give Dennis Gates credit for, is if he sees a matchup that is a mismatch, he will hammer it. A couple examples. Mizzou beat Florida at home early on in SEC play, and they had 3 possessions in a row where Florida put Xavier Lee on Jacob Cruz, who's a minor rotation piece. He's a lights-out shooter. They just don't find a lot of minutes for him these days. Yeah. And they just had Jacob Cruz seal off Xavier Lee, and they threw it to him twice over the top, and he either got a layup or fouled. And it's like, that's the type of problematic positional size they have. Like, I could see a situation where I made a video about T.O. Barrett, who can be out of control sometimes. He can't shoot, but he was going at Jacoby Gillespie and Bishop Boswell again and again and again. They were drawing up post plays for him. Like there's a world where Fletcher and Braden could struggle defensively against just some of the bullying guards of Mizzou. I just think there's a big coaching mismatch. But
that's fair.
Point, yeah, I don't know. I think there were other matchups where Mizzou could. When Mizzou beat something, is like they're playing a team where you all of a sudden you look at the personnel and you look at the sides front court, you're like, Mizzou's better. Like they're not supposed to be better. They're 52nd in Kempon, but when you look at like the players on the court, you're like, hold up.
Dude, like if people aren't familiar with me on this stream, like I'm a Duke fan. So every time I watch Mark Mitchell, I just like, oh, the Mark Mitchell experience. I don't miss it. And then he goes for 32 and 12. And I'm like, damn, it works at Missouri. It struggled a little bit. Duke had his up and downs, but to see him hooping as he's done in Missouri, had 1,000 points, in 2 years? Like at the end of the day, this team just can get out and run. And in March, that's a fun team to kind of back.
Matt's going to be on here in a minute. I'm going to make J-Man will be back on the channel because apparently, shout out to you guys. I was hoping to get 50 people. There's 419 people in here. Damn. That's nuts. And I guess I'm going to have to do this every night of the tournament if people are going to show up. And I'm going to have guests like J-Man coming through, and it's going to be dope. So 1 or 2 last questions for J-Man. Is there anything that do you have access to the chat from your view or no?
No, I don't.
Oh, are you sure? Go click the panel on the left. I'll throw some. Do you have thoughts on Alabama Hofstra or Texas Tech Akron?
Thank you. Actually, yes, I have a lot to say about Hofstra and Alabama. Before the Aiden Holloway news came out, I picked Hofstra to cover and I sprinkled money line because obviously they got 2 hoopers that can go put the ball in the hole. Cruz has been outstanding. He had 36, I think, at Pitt in a win, 22 at Syracuse. They beat 2 ACC teams. And I know Pitt and Syracuse are not much to write home about. There you go. I can see it now.
Oh, yeah.
But what I'm going, though, with they're 11-1 their last 12 games since they had like a 5-game skid in the CAA. I don't know if you saw this video, Christian, but I asked, what is the effective field goal percentage? They're the number 1 defensive effective field goal percentage team in the country in the last 12 games. The number 1 – yes, Hofstra is the number 1 defense of effective field goal percentage team in the country in the last 12 games. Number 1, 2-point defense, and number 18, 3-point defense. What does Bama like to do? Chuck up threes. Aiden Holloway is not there. LeBaron Philon has a lot more weight on his shoulders. Hofstra's got 2 hoopers that can score. I love Hofstra. With that being said, congrats, Alabama. You won by 20 points.
Well, let me say this. I forget. I can't find the comment, but someone asked how much Aiden Holloway affects Alabama. So I thought Hofstra was a live dog pre-Aiden Holloway, but let's just take a step back. Alabama is not the Alabama team that beat Illinois. I was at that game. That was the first game I went to this season. The team that beat Illinois, the team that beat St. John's on neutrals, right? Beat Clemson at home. That Alabama team is not what this Alabama team is. And there's a few reasons why. One is Taylor Bowen was playing well at the beginning of the season. His minutes have came up a little bit, but there's something wrong with his hand. Like I don't have the exact intel. I just know that he's not 100%, and it's reflected in his minutes and his being in and out of the lineup. He was a key piece. They brought him there to hit corner threes and to rebound. And Amari Allen has been awesome. I think when Jemison and who's the other guy? Hannah even come in, or Hannah's been out for. I'm sorry, but when Jemison comes in, he gives him good minutes. I love Trelly. Philon is like one of the best players in the country. Millette is a gamer. But it's like we have to do a few minutes of Noah Williamson every game. That just you can't be that good of a team when that's happening. Like no disrespect, like he's that bad. And Sherelle I like Sherelle a lot. He's not the Alabama's bigs that have been great in the past. Like either it's like your athletic rim protector, lob finishers, your Nick Pringles, your Charles Bediacos, your Cliff O'Morris, or you're like Grant Nelson, small ball 5, kind of shoot at 3, and Sherelle's kind of in the middle. He's not, so I just think you missed on Williamson. Keaton Bristow from Tarleton State was awesome in that Illinois game I was at. He could just go and rebound and like play his role. You don't have him. Bull Bowen's not right. And now you take away your fun complimentary scoring guard. I couldn't be any more out on Alabama, who I thought could potentially be a sneaky title contender preseason.
Yeah, no. And to go further my point with Hofstra, as long as it's not like BYU last year, where they're going under ball screens for a team that likes to shoot threes, which they're not because Speedy Claxton played in the league. And that's also a coaching advantage that I trust him to have a wrinkle to throw Alabama a loop to where they're not just going to come off of screens and Phylon's just going to step into one like Sears did last year against BYU and they scored 100 and some points or whatever it was. I think Hofstra, dude, they're prepared to where they're going to funnel the guards to the lane, and they're the number one defensive 2-point team in the last 12 games. I know they're in the CAA, but it's something to be said that they're still number one in the damn country in those statistics, in those categories. I think Hofstra is the real deal, and I have them covering the spread, and I do have them money line as well.
Love it. I might talk myself into it as well. J-Man, you've been an awesome guest. You will be back on here soon. Thank you so much for your time. Everyone say thank you, J-Man.
See you, buddy.
Bringing in my dog, Matt. Matt, how are you? I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm so impressed by how well you can follow the NBA and college hoops. You are nobody's doing it like you. Before I open up the chat, what is on your mind right now about the tournament?
Yeah, no, thank you for that. I'm not as like you guys are high level college basketball, and I love it, man, because there's so many names that you guys are throwing out and so many like technical terms about how these teams play that I just love it. Because like what I do is I follow mainly for the draft, so I try to learn more and more every year about things. What you guys were saying last, because like I'm from Long Island, and seeing Hofstra like actually getting picked to beat Alabama blows my mind. I don't know if you guys hit on it. Like, is he not playing like officially, or that's
he's
still
done. He's in trouble.
Yeah, that's crazy. Because like I was already like an Hofstra just as like, like an upset team before that, just like they lost to Ole Miss in the SEC tournament. And now the fact that they lost like their backcourt guy next to Phylon, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't think Aiden ever gets enough credit. Like, he is ridiculously skilled. He has unbelievable range. And just having that and right cell's really good, and he can, play more, but he is the ceiling raiser. When Alabama's beating a really good team, it's because Aiden Holloway goes and gives you 20 to Phylon's like 26.
Yeah, no, it's going to be crazy, that fact that so I guess the spread has probably dropped a little bit since then. But no, I'm excited to talk about just kind of college hoops. And I think between like Selection Sunday to like Thursday, best time of the year. And then like Thursday through Sunday is just like pure euphoria, just like game after game, upset after upset. And it's just going to be a great time.
So from an NBA draft perspective, is there a specific player on your mind of like, I really want to see how they're going to do in this matchup, or just how they're going to elevate to the moment in the tournament before they, because their last college game is around the corner?
Yeah, I think there's obviously like every prospect is like in March Madness this year. It's great. I think Darren Peterson, though, comes to mind first. I feel like he really needs a good game or two in March Madness. And like you guys said before, I can't really see Kansas losing in the round of 64. And then they would get St. John's in the round of 32. So it's not going to get much easier. But I do think Darren Peterson really needs a good game to like just kind of have that in people's eyes as the last thing they see with him at Kansas. And I think we all know like what he went through this year, but the last two games weren't great. It was against, I think, TCU and Houston. Houston was bad for everybody on Kansas. But I do feel like Darren Peterson really needs to have like that number one pick performance against maybe St. John's, maybe it's against Cal Baptist. Either way, I think he's got to show something to us that he could be efficient, he can play make. And I know like Kansas has been kind of all over the place with him on the floor, but I think he needs to show up at least in one of these two games.
The two Darren Peterson moments that stand out to me this season in terms of his best on-court product was when he took over at Texas Tech and hit those 2 threes like that were just ridiculous shots in the first half of the BYU game, when like he just like was like the best half I've ever seen put on tape. Are we going to do you think we have yet to see, is there a world where we have yet to see the high of Darren Peterson in college, where he is, late in season, like he's finally getting more comfortable, but it's not the tournament yet? Like, do you think there's another gear for him to reach where he can actually carry this team to a deep run?
I do. I like those two games that were back to back. And it's just like, you thought, okay, this is the guy going forward that should be at the number one of people's draft boards. And I feel like we haven't seen it yet. It's just like, I don't know if it's like a Bill Self thing. I don't know if it's like a Kansas thing over the last 2 years, but I just don't know if it's going to happen like on this team with its dynamic, because it doesn't feel like there's like fluid ball movement. It doesn't feel like there's great like cohesiveness when he's out there with his teammates. And I don't know if that's like them specifically, or it's just kind of like they're just not knocking down shots for each other. And you can kind of see that towards like Peterson's like assist to turnover ratio, and you see he's not really grabbing a ton of assists this year, when I think he can actually average a decent amount of assists at the NBA level. And he's had like, I think like games with 4 this year, games with 3, but I feel like we have yet to see Peterson kind of take over offensively, where I think it was like the Baylor game earlier in the year too, where he was just like getting where he wanted on the floor, going up against like, potential 2 first-round picks at Baylor. I was like back in January. I think we can get that. And like St. John's will be the big test for him. And I hope that they get past Cal Baptist, even though it would be a great story if they pulled off the upset. But if we can get him going up against like that defense for the Johnnies, I think that could be a really good last impression for the season.
Yeah, I would love to see what Pitino's strategy would be on Peterson. You're picking him up full court probably. They have a bunch of different athletes to throw at him, but I haven't watched every Kansas game this year, but I haven't really seen anyone really, he's had games where he hasn't shot it well, but I don't know if he's had a matchup like what maybe St. John's can throw at them. And when I think, so that Baylor game you mentioned, he was 11 of 13 from the field, which is crazy.
It's crazy because like he's got such his first step, his burst, his twitch. It's like he can get to the rim and he's such a good athlete. And it's just like, did we never see him at like full strength this season, like 100% because of the cramping and like the soft tissue injuries? It makes you think like what this year could have been.
My last thought on Kansas is the reason I don't believe in them to make a deep run is I think Bryson Tiller at the 4 was kind of their X factor to me this year, and he looked really good at points, but he hasn't hit a 3 since Valentine's Day, and defensively he hasn't been great, which just puts so much on Flory's plate, right? And Flory's been awesome, and Melvin has moments where he's just this absolute dog, getting to the rim, making crazy plays. Trey White is super skilled, does a lot, but then it's like that's 4 players, and El Marco and Jamari are just kind of like zeros to me. Like sometimes they give you something good. Most of the time they're just eating minutes. So I'm not a big Kansas believer, but I really would love to see Darren
me too. And it's wild too, because like a lot of people, I mean, they're either 1 or 2 in favorites of winning it all in Arizona, and Arizona has lost to 2 teams this year. Duke, who everybody either has as number 1 or 2, in this Kansas team. I know Peterson didn't play, but this team does have something like capable of maybe making a run. It's just hard to believe in them, just like with what they've looked over the last few weeks.
Yeah, that's a great point about shot volume. Kansas does not, I'm not going to screen share just because it's nice to have like our faces take up the whole screen right now. We're going to become tiny, but yeah, Kansas is bottom 30 in the country in forcing turnovers. They're out to the top 100 and taking care of it. And they're out to the top 115 offensive rebounding rate and defensive rebounding rate. So they don't have like, as great as Flory is, he's not the type of like Hunter Dickinson kind of, even David McCormack low post scorer they like to kind of have out there. Anyways, that's a lot of Kansas time. Let's talk Arkansas. I know you and I in mocks, we're definitely pushing Akuff up. You had him higher than me. It's starting to be like my logic before was like the defense stuff, but also there's just so many small guards. Like what are we really banking on? Like, is he just an absolute superstar, or does he end up being just one of these scoring guards where there's just a lot of them? I'm starting to think he might just be that special. And someone made a really good comp to me. What if his role in the NBA, Matt, is something like Kyrie? And I know their games are different, but it's like you can put him next to a superstar, and they don't need the ball all the time, and like he's just that good of an offensive player. Is that something that you've thought about with him? And what do you think of Arkansas's draw?
Yeah, totally. I think we've seen these guards. I mean, they can be just fine at the NBA level, like Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson, Tyrese Halliburton. These guys are either sometimes not great defenders or on the smaller side. So they can 100% like have the engine of an offense like on their backs. And what I love about watching like Darius is like when it's a miss, it's like, get me the ball, I'm going to get it back to you. And he's like, go, 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 ready to push the floor. It's tough too, because like I try to like not get so caught up in like what we saw as of late. And they'd won the SEC tournament, and they beat a good Vanderbilt team. I think like it's an obvious like observation, but I would have been a little bit more impressed if they were able to go through Florida, because I'm like, that's an elite team, like a top tier team to get to the Final Four. I think they'll beat Hawaii. I like them against Wisconsin. I guess it just depends if Wisconsin beats High Point and you think like what you're going to get from Blackwell and Boyd as a duo. It's like this could be the best duo in the country, or maybe they're just not going to be on against Arkansas, who's maybe not the greatest defensive team in the world. I think they're going to get matched against Arizona. Like I don't know. It's just like the front court scares me a lot. Now Brazil's been playing like somebody that can actually get drafted, and they have great athletes. I just worry about their size factor and what their defense will look like, because the Malik Thomas, Darius Akuff like backcourt is not great defensively, even though it's like so exciting to watch offensively. Yeah,
that Florida 111, Arkansas 77 game kind of lives in my head. I know it was senior day and Florida played super well, but Florida was kind of a unicorn in the SEC this year because Tennessee wasn't as good as we're used to, and there wasn't like another team with like really great bigs. Like Mizzou sometimes was the closest thing to that, who Arkansas did beat twice in close games. But and also when Arkansas played against Houston on a neutral, they just couldn't guard them. Flemings was getting whatever he wanted. And then when they played Duke was just clearly the better team. So shout out to Arkansas and Cal for being so consistent this year. They didn't lose any head scratchers, which sometimes you get with Cal, but I just think Arizona could be the type of game where they lose by 15 or 20 points, which might sound crazy considering how good Arkansas has played, but I think they got a really sucky draw. And I might pick Hawaii in my bracket. I have a feeling about it. How many times, Matt, do you think all week about the bracket, and then you turn on the games, and then it's like, of course, 14th seeded UAB beat Iowa State, the Iowa State team that beat the Big 12 that I had in my Final Four, or like Middle Tennessee State turning up and beating Michigan State. Some random thing happens of a head scratcher of a team that won their conference tournament. Remember when Iowa with Keegan Murray got beat by Richmond bad? Like teams that get to the tournament super hot can sometimes just either their mind shifting or a mid-major just gets out to a really good start. It's not a great matchup and they lose. And Arkansas's 15-point favorites, like they're most likely going to win the game. I'm just saying if one of these 4s or 3s loses, that might be one I have my eye on the most, other than Troy.
Yeah, I'm looking like all the 4s too, because I guess we talked about Alabama a little bit, and then you have Troy, Nebraska.
I think Alabama is maybe the most vulnerable.
And then Kansas, yeah. So I'm trying to think. I mean, I could definitely see it. And like everything I've read about Hawaii is like their defense is really good, right? Like they play like a kind of an unorthodox, like different style of defense. And hey, you get Darius off his game, and then maybe there's just not like it's just like kind of hot potato who's going to take over if you really shadow out like Darius and Malik. So maybe there's a chance they pull off the upside. Like it's a one and done. Like anything can happen.
So Hawaii, that weird defense they do sometimes is just like extreme no help to like not let shooters get open and to like make guys score in isolation. And Akuff might be one of the best isolation scorers in the country. So on paper, it sounds bad, but just hear me out. There are games this year where Akuff took 15, 16 twos and like a lot of middies. And those are, of course, he can have games where he makes them all, but he has games where he misses. And also Billy Richmond and Javon Brazil are shooting way above their averages right now. If I'm Hawaii, even if that's my strategy, like I'm probably cheating off Billy Richmond. I'd rather Billy Richmond beat me from deep than Akuff be dropping 40 on me. So they also throw a zone in, and they're kind of physical. Like Dre Bullock is just like 6'6", athletic perimeter defender who I only watched them a couple of times in their conference tournament, but he jumped off on tape to me. Could be interesting, but Akuff could have 40.
Right. So like, have you gone through like any of the I don't know if there's anything you want to say in the chat, but like, is there any like 3-4 you're kind of like a little iffy about? So it's like Michigan State, Gonzaga, Virginia, and Illinois. I don't know if you're on TJ Power now.
I mean, I had the SEC tournament on. I just threw the Ivy on the second TV just to keep an eye on. I'm like staring at the Ivy League game because this dude is going crazy. But I haven't really dug into any of the 14s. I just, from what I've seen about North Dakota State, they're just going to be overwhelmed. Kennesaw is pretty young, and Mark Few makes the Sweet 16 every year. And then I just like Virginia a lot. I watched Wright State kind of play in the mud against like Detroit Mercy. So it's hard to imagine those 14s doing damage, but I don't know if I'm missing something. So, of course, something funky could happen.
Right. Like it's like Virginia versus, I don't know. It's just like you're always scarred from UMBC, but it's a different coach. It's a different team. Like no way they're going this early, or Furman even.
What else? What about a Nate Amen? Where are you at on Tennessee? And what are you expecting from Nate in the tournament?
Yeah, I got to actually like see him in person earlier in the year. And like, it's just like a fascinating player where it's like, he can go off against, it was Auburn he played really well against. And then I'm now drawing a blank. I think it was or Vanderbilt. He struggled in the SEC tournament, like right after. It's just like kind of flip-flopping. It's a coin flip on what type of like Nate Amen game you're going to get. I mean, I've enjoyed watching like Jacoby Gillespie so much this year. And I feel like he's somebody that can obviously elevate this team's offense, like no matter what. It's like, so they're going to get Miami of Ohio or SMU. It's tough for me to see them beating Virginia. I've enjoyed watching Virginia actually like more than maybe ever this year. And I got to like, I was kind of like half watching them this year because there wasn't really like a prospect on board. And then I'm starting to wonder more about like Grunwald, like the Ritter's an older freshman. And then Onessa like balls out in the ACC tournament. I'm like, this is like a great shot blocker here. And it's like the size that Virginia has. I don't think Tennessee matches up great with them. I just like, I've made like probably 6 different brackets. Not one of them did I have Tennessee beating Virginia.
Where are you at on the Allen Graves stuff? I think there's a world where he could go first round this year, but I think it would be the smart decision of him to go. He'll be very sought after in the portal. And I'm sorry, I know people get mad at me or anyone who mentions that a player might look at the portal. I am not the problem. The problem is that when the rules happen, everyone else tampering. Sorry for acknowledging the fact that a dude from Santa Clara might transfer. Where are you at on Allen Graves? Are you one of the calculator boys that has him top 5?
They love him.
They love him because if you filtered out of guys with a high steal rate, high block rate, 40% three at that size of freshman, it's like him and lottery pick. So I get it, but you know, he's taking some wide open threes a lot of the time. Their defensive system, I think, puts him in a nice spot to like rack up the steals. I think he's a really good player, but I don't know if I'm ready to like put him as a 26 guy. It's a really good player.
I had like him in like a range of like, I made like a second round big board like a couple weeks ago, and I had like him and like the Dame Sars, like maybe an Elijah Arenas, like these guys that I think should go back to school and maybe improve their draft stock for a weaker, potentially 2027 draft. I mean, when I've watched Allen Graves this year, I do think like there is an NBA player in his game, and he's got the size, and he's got like, okay, 6'9" like can definitely be a two-way like 3-and-D wing that everybody sought after. And it's like, he's not like Cedric Howard exactly, but it's like, okay, smaller-ish school, but it's more so like this guy, analytical darling. People fall in love with him. You don't find too many flaws in his game. And it's like, why shouldn't this guy go in the lottery, especially when you're looking at like the rest of the 2026 draft? And it's not like a strong wing class, especially not a strong wing forward class. Because once you go after like AJ, and then you're getting into like Thomas Houck, like Yaxel plays more of a big, but you're getting into these guys that are like 23, like almost 24 years old. And it's like, okay, let's take the chance on the freshman from Santa Clara. So I think he would get drafted in the top 40 if he went. And I could totally see the value there. But I wonder, does he go back to school? Does he stay? Does he go whatever and really improve his draft stock next year? I never really know, because I really thought, I thought Yaxel was going to go last year, and I thought Howard was going to go to Duke. And it was just like, flipped. So like you never really know what the NAL is going to look like and where they can maybe even get their draft stock like told from by like agents and stuff. Should you stay and maybe improve your stock?
Jacob says he'll test the waters and go to the portal. He is the kind of guy that I feel like teams could fall in love with, and he just soars up. Oh, this is a weird comp to make, but a comp I have is Jake LaRavia, because when I was at Wake and Jake, you know, he was like maybe starting to pop up in some second rounds in like February. And I know Allen, like the buzz started a bit earlier. But all of a sudden it was like, oh no, this dude's a first round pick. Like once they just saw his archetype in the measurables and started talking to him, it's like, it's a first round pick. I could see that happen with him, but it seems like, and Gavin kind of says it with a guy like Abuko Corey, take advantage of the Wild West right now. You can go play wherever you want. And honestly, don't chase. If anyone wants to listen to me, Abuka, if you're listening, don't go to the place that gives you the biggest bag. Go to the place that makes the most sense for you. You will make your money. And
totally.
One other draft, I have to address this really quick, Baby J. How dare you say that when they're literally playing a Florida team that they just beat by 17? I don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear that.
They were definitely the most like disrespected team, right? With their seeding. Like they got a 5 and they should have been at least 4 at the minimum.
Yeah, all the spreadsheet boys who don't watch college basketball but do like survivor pools and bracket pools, like using math, are all over Vandy and Illinois because they're the two teams that are underseeded based on like metrics. What do you think about? I think this is a really interesting player to bring up because I'm one of the people who believes in UConn that they could make a deep run. And if they do, it's because Braylon Mullins has some games where he hitting a lot of threes. And do you think he's a guy that teams could fall in love with? Because he's super fundamental, great shooter, knows how to play, but he still looks so little and didn't have like a great freshman year. So I think it would make sense for him to go back to school. Where are you on Braylon Mullins?
Yeah, I think like too, he got like the late start. He had like, I think it was an ankle or something. So we got like a really late start to the year. He had like no proper build up throughout the preseason, but he looked good. He had like an exhibition game and then I think got hurt, where he's like a really good athlete. And I think it's like sometimes where it's like, you shouldn't always look at the percentages, and you watch his form and I love it. I think it's something that's going to play at the NBA level where this guy could be a spot up shooter out of the gate. I think moves fairly well without the ball. And I think we've seen guys work out from the early system and haven't worked out too much. Like McNeely's still kind of finding his footing at the NBA level, but like Stephon Castle's worked out. I guess you're looking at like Andre Jackson and Jordan Hawkins. These guys have like maybe not have gone to the best system. So I think that could matter a ton for Braylon Mullins as well, where you're going to utilize him properly. I think he'd be a first round pick. It's just like, you don't know what you're going to get from him either. It's like Nate Ament, but I think a safer archetype. He doesn't have as high of a ceiling as Nate Ament, but I think he was definitely inconsistent this year. But if like we're looking at like the Georgetown game and I'm like seeing this guy move extremely well without the ball, he's aggressive, he's a really good athlete. I think he could be somebody that, all right, he could take 5-6 threes at the NBA level and actually shoot close to 40%. And there's value there. And I think he's a good enough athlete. He'd hold his own defensively in his 20s, and he'd be a first round pick in my eyes. I think I had him top 20. It's just like, yeah, will he step up for UConn here where they have Furman and then either UCLA or UCF? I mean, that like UCLA could be a tough matchup for him. And then we'll see if they get Michigan State if they were to advance. It could be another like tournament run where he can really help out his draft stock, which could be the case for a lot of these guys.
My plan was to wrap this before Miami, Ohio. I want to get to a couple more. Appreciate everyone for being here. One quick thing on Braylon Mullins. You'll know this better than me. I'm thinking of a Jordan Hawkins collaborate, is just a, thin, super shooter guard, obviously the UConn connection. Did Jordan Hawkins not work? Was he dealing with injuries? Is he just not in hell because New Orleans sucks? Like, was he a miss or is there still hope for Jordan Hawkins?
I still think there's hope for Jordan Hawkins. I think it's a little bit of both because he did suffer, I think, a decent amount of injuries in year 2 where like that 25 or maybe it was his rookie season. Like everybody was hurt on the Pelicans. Or I guess that was technically last year. And it's tough to find your rhythm too when it's just like you're playing with like 8 different guys every other week. And it's just like he's now on his second head coach. I think he's lost his confidence. I think he could be a guy that would benefit from like a 2-way or something like that. Like it's a camp invite, but then could really break the roster, especially when a team needs him. He does have his, I think, 4th-year team option picked up for next year. I would hope that he finds a team that like he can work out because this was like, all right, I think the seamless fit, like 3 and somewhat D at the NBA level. I thought was going to be a big time shot maker. Won a what? Did he win the? No, they didn't win in 23, or did they?
No, they did.
No, they did. Yeah, so he just came off. Yeah, they just came off the national title with him and like Andre Jackson. I thought he was going to work out. It was I don't know if it's a miss by like me or it's just a bad environment in New Orleans because it's been a rough few years for them.
This is fake news. Pierre started this. I make like one bracket, but guess what? If I enter 4 pools, I'm going to copy my bracket and make a couple adjustments just because it's a plus EV thing to do. Last thing, back to Jacob. Give me someone hiding in plain sight right now that will impact a playoff series. My brain goes to of someone hiding. I think of some older guys, in defensive-minded guys, because there's typically more value on the defensive guys. And the names I'm going to throw out are Malik Brown. Undersized 5, but his hands are so special. He can pass and sometimes he can hit threes. Even if the shot doesn't get there, I would believe in him. Emmanuel Sharp, super sniper, high character, defends, undersized, a bit at his position, which is why there's some value, but he can attack closeouts. He plays hard. And my last one is Mo Krivas. I think Mo Krivas is an NBA center. I like him way better than, I don't know, Visar. I don't know if maybe Visar goes back to school, but give me the defensive anchor versus the hypothetical stretch big. I know Visar shot it well, but I think Mo Krivas is hiding in plain sight and probably going to go too low in this draft.
Yeah, I think I'm like to the college audience, like these are not like under the radar names, but maybe for the draft audience, like I agree with you with Krivas. I like the defensive tape is there. I've enjoyed watching Paris Reed towards the end of the year. I think he's like really good touch, really good feel around the rim. Sits like really good screens. Ruben Chinelu, you've talked about him a ton this year, like high motor, could definitely impact or swing a playoff series. And then Milan at Iowa State, like Momcilovic is just going to shoot like 40% from 3 at the NBA level. He's 6'8". The form is so good. Like he's going to probably go mid-second because there's like a limit on what he could be as a player, but he could definitely knock down a couple of threes in a playoff series next year.
There was a clip of good shout out on Yenso. He was like in Kansas State hell after like not playing many minutes in Kentucky. So to see him blossom like this is really awesome. But wait, who'd you just say?
Milan, Terrace Reed, Milan, and Chinelu.
What was I going to say? God damn it. What was it about? I had one other player enter my mind that I wanted to talk about.
I'm trying. Yeah. I wonder if it's like somebody in that range too. You were talking about Krivas. I don't know.
And then Chinelu.
I wonder if like the Jaden Bradleys and Tim and Lipsies of the world go like,
oh, okay. I'm out. I don't think I'm in on Lipsy getting drafted. I think Bradley could definitely get drafted. I remember now when you were talking about Momcilovic, there was a clip of this Big 12 guy, shout out Chancellor Johnson, was asking like the best shooters in the Big 12, who's the best shooter in the Big 12? They all would say themselves or their teammate that, if they weren't listed. And then Momcilovic. I think everyone is just like in awe of how ridiculous of a shooter he is.
49.6% from 3 on 7.5 attempts at 6'8". It's crazy.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of a comp for him.
Like 6, just like How tall is like not like similar build, but like Sam Hauser? Is he 6'8"? No, he might be smaller than that.
Sam Hauser is
6'7".
sneaky. Matt, something about Sam Hauser. I remember in watching the Celtics Mavs finals, they were trying to pick on Sam Hauser, and he was like moving his.
No, he's a good defender.
Yeah.
Is Milan a great defender? I haven't really watched his defense too much.
Yeah, well, yeah, I think guys like Chinyalu, Krivas, I don't know about Terrace, maybe Terrace, like, well, and Merez and Adai. There's a sneaky lot of bigs, and bigs are starting to creep up. It feels wrong to end this stream with this many people on. This was not expected. This was so cool. I kind of want to watch Miami, Ohio, SMU. Should I keep rocking out? Should I pull it on my computer? Should we stay on a little bit? Let's take a couple more questions.
Yeah, I'm down to stay on.
Ooh, Yannick he didn't play in the tournament, but Yannick was definitely a good riser. And he just jumped on tape, you know.
Yeah. So it was like pure athleticism.
Yeah. Someone keeps saying Reeves and Luca. I don't know what they're talking about. Are the Lakers
the chat for you? They play at 9:30.
Oh, okay.
Maybe get hype for that. What time does the game starts at 9:15, right? Or it just started? Yeah, Miami and SMU. Who do you have? Do you have SMU winning?
I think Boopy Miller's going to go for 30. I think Jaden Toombs will go off. I think it would be good for the sport if Miami won, so I'm just rooting for them. But yeah, I don't know how I feel about them actually winning.
It's tough, yeah.
They got to start.
I was gonna say I went down a coaching rabbit hole today on like just college basketball reference, and like I completely forgot Travis Steele was at Xavier and then got replaced by Sean Miller, and then there's like just you can kind of find like a domino effect for all these coaches.
Yeah, the carousel. This is what we were talking about. Matt and I were talking about this earlier today. Of if Jack Golke doesn't hit 9 movement threes against Kentucky, then 1, maybe Cal doesn't get ran out of town. 2, maybe NC State doesn't go to the Final Four because they played Oakland the second round. Maybe you get rid of Kevin Keats another year, and then maybe they miss out on Will Wade. They get somebody else. It's crazy how the domino effect of certain games starts the carousel of the coaches.
It's honestly like I still can't believe like Kentucky, because I mean that was such a weird year too, because they were not like starting. They weren't starting Reed. They were starting like Wagner at the time, and they were so talented compared to like
because they promised to start Wagner, even though Reed
that was what it was, right?
Better, yeah.
And he was like the 3rd best guard on the team.
I love this shout. That's another name I should have said. Sam Lewis, League him certified watch list. Do you have thoughts on Santa Clara, Kentucky? By the way, I'm just out on Kentucky.
So okay. I actually picked Kentucky in most of mine only on so some of these I'm just going off like I don't know if it's like vibes or just like what I went through last year, because last year I don't want to get it wrong. Kansas lost to Arkansas, right?
Yeah.
I think I was like so out on I was out on both those teams, but I was out on Arkansas, and they just went on a little bit of a run. I don't think Kentucky beats Iowa State, but it's like, you know what? Like, I don't know. Do OA and Aberdeen like show up a little bit against Santa Clara? I don't think Quaidance is playing, but like Moreno's like held his own in some ways. It's tough. He got like thrown into the fire midseason or like most of the season, honestly. I'm also out on Kentucky, but the fact that like, I don't know, they didn't completely fall off. They still have like a 20 million roster at the end of the day. Can they beat a West Coast team, a WCC team? Can they?
I mean, they should be better. Their X factor to me is Colin Chandler, because I think they look their best when he's hitting like 4 threes in a game. Is this about Oscar Clough in the NBA? No disrespect, but no. Billy Richmond, I like Billy Richmond a lot.
I like Billy Richmond a lot too.
Like this, then like, whew.
Yeah, like there is definitely win potential.
Thoughts on Koa Pete going on a deep Arizona run, playing his way up the board?
Yeah, I think he definitely needed that game against Houston, because he was looking a little iffy, like coming back from the injury. Still like looked fairly well. I think he's also like another kind of fit guy too, because I wouldn't want to see him get drafted to a team that's like non-shooting big, because I don't know if he's ever going to be a shooting big at the NBA level. He could adopt that and he could grow. I think right away, hey, you get him in Portland with like Donovan Clingan, who can help him out somewhat defensively, but Clingan can also space the floor now. Or I'm sure Wizards fans don't want to be thinking about Koa Pete, but God forbid they could drop in the lottery. Like you think about him next to Sarr, like there's definitely some fits for Pete. And I think there is a spot for him at the 4 at the NBA level. I just wonder if he'll ever develop like a jumper, because he's not a bad mid-range shooter, like from the elbow. We'll see if he can ever step back more. Yeah.
It looks pretty. And all he does is win. And all I've heard is great things about him as a as a person. Oh, the Clough guy was not talking about the NBA. I will say I think Clough, if Purdue is only a top 5-ish team when Oscar Clough is asserting himself on the glass and scoring down low, it is paramount because Jacobson is not ready yet, and TKR at the 5 limits your ceiling. So Clough and obviously like Lawyer and Cox making threes are the X factors for Purdue, but I would honestly say it's more Clough. Any thoughts there?
Yeah, I guess I wasn't too honed in on Clough this year, but like when I was watching him a ton throughout the Big Ten tournament, like it's so like, I don't know if it's unnatural, but it just like feels like he's just kind of hopping around over there. And honestly, he had some nice post moves like on a day against Michigan. Yeah, I don't think he's much after this, but I honestly didn't know he was at South Dakota or South Dakota State last year. And he's honestly been a great find for
Remember where he was so before South Dakota State, he was at Washington State with Chinyalu. They had both those big ass dudes.
You know what? I didn't even know Chinyalu was there because
Chinyalu was like 30 pounds. Chinyalu was like thin and like very rough. I remember Florida.
Was that Jalen Wells team too?
Yeah, it was the Jalen Wells team that won a game against Drake in the tournament.
Oh wow.
But
yeah, there's just so much player movement now, but that's crazy. I mean, you can find teams like that. Did you see the Mike Francesca thing where he was talking about Zuby?
Yeah, dude. If Zuby just stuck behind Joel
for a decade.
Bro, you know what's so crazy is his comeback to that was, oh, I was actually thinking of Hunter Dickinson. No, you weren't, because you literally said Embiid's a guy who's like averaged 30 a game in the NBA. You were thinking about Joel Embiid. You were just like, that was nuts. And honestly,
too good.
Pro tip for my ex-users out here, mute First Take, Jason McIntyre, all the people whose garbage takes come on your timeline. You can just mute it. I haven't seen a Stephen A clip on my I've muted the word Stephen A. You can choose freedom.
It's kind of nice. Dude, one of the parody ones got me today, and I was so upset because I'm like so good against like the Scott Hughes college one. Like from the gate I knew it. Oh man, like I don't even like. It was somebody on like Tennessee State, or it's like, did you see that one where he's like not playing in he was like, he's not playing in the tournament to like focus on the draft. And
was it my boy Scotty Hughes?
No, it wasn't that guy. It was a different one. And that's what got me. And I was like, oh my God, like that's a crazy decision. And then I'm like, all right, let me just actually think about this for a second. And then you realize, all right, just a parody spam account.
One last thing I'll leave on, a couple positive notes thing of just how good Arizona is and Karchenkov being so damn good. Like Arizona is the type of team that we're going to look back on a few years and just be in awe of how much talent on that roster. When you had the Big 12 Player of the Year point guard, who I think there's a world where Jaden Bradley's an NBA player. Koa Pete and Burries, Karchenkov is an NBA player. Krivas an NBA player. You're bringing Toby Walk off the bench, who is the best offensive rebounder in the country. You bring Delorso off the bench, who is not a bad defender like he was before and a legit shooter. And then Aristote is probably a 27 or 28 guy. Like, in the fact that Arizona kept losing in the Sweet 16 under Tommy Lloyd, who's made that an elite program year in and year out since he took the job, they're due for a tournament run. And I'm like the most confident of them making the Final Four of any team.
Yeah, me too. You saying that they're due, another rabbit hole I went down, like the amount of talent they've had in that program since Lloyd took over is insane. When you're just like your Pele Larsons, your Caleb Loves, your Omar Barlows, your Keyshawn Johnsons, Boswell, like their list is just insane. How many Vase are? It's like they have produced so much talent, and I do feel like this is the year it all kind of comes together. And I have them winning in most of my brackets because I like their path, honestly, where Purdue's the 2 seed and like Wisconsin 5. And I think Gonzaga or maybe Miami or Mizzou pulls off the upset on Purdue. Wait,
I can't. Oh, here it is. I got to screen share this really quick. You said exactly. I made this is an original graphic. Graphic design is my passion. Look at that.
Oh yeah. See, like
Avicii
look at all that talent.
Xavier, Morauskas on
KJ Willis. Like that's like
their player evaluation is elite. That's why I got the light on for Bryce James being a good player. He's at Arizona. They know how to develop players.
Did he technically or officially redshirt?
Redshirt. Oh yeah, he did redshirt. Tommy Lloyd's a no nonsense dude. He's not here for the James hoopla, like the Muscleman show.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
I think he believes in Bryce.
Yeah, and like last year, it's like play Carter Bryant more, but it's like he had this like designed role for Carter Bryant where it's like you're not going to be the guy you are in high school. You're going to be this role player for us. You're going to kind of be a catch and shoot guy in the corner, and it worked out for the most part. And Bryant's going to be a good NBA player.
But that's what makes their team so good is that you can get a dude that caliber to be a role player.
Yeah,
and what's more fun than being a role player on a team where you get to dunk the ball and play great defense and get wide open catch and shoot threes like Karchenkov? Like this is just it's such a perfect system for basically all the guys. Like there's no one, and I mean I know that there's people who love Caleb Love out there probably still, but you don't have that shot chucking guard. And I know they probably they grabbed a lot of misses on his 3-point shots, so it's like it wasn't always. And he had games where he went crazy, but like the way Jaden commands a game, the way Burries is just a incredible combo scoring guard, and the fact that you can bully teams on the inside, and you got shooter like Darius, they're just so loaded. And who did they lose to? They lost to Kansas at Kansas, which is one of the hardest places to win. I know Darren didn't play, but the refs were terrible in that game. Koa got hurt, if I'm not mistaken. And they lost in overtime to Texas Tech. And Texas Tech also beat Duke, and they won at Iowa State. So, like, they only lost to championship caliber teams. Or I'm sorry,
no.
Texas Tech was at home. But
their talent's insane. I had one question for you because we can maybe use a Caleb Love segue. How prestige? Well, I know how prestigious it is because I have some friends that are UNC fans, and I don't know if they would actually go through with the coaching change.
Raising the banner thing.
Oh well, that was that caught me by surprise. But then I saw that they do it for all Americans, so that's what it was maybe. But like, if Hubert Davis does get let go, like I'm just like we're just talking like so like you can tell me if I'm out like I'm off base here, but like what is the best coach out there that it's like okay, this is I don't know if Lane Kiffin would be a good comp, but like you're gonna take the Carolina job, like.
I have a name. I think Nate Oates would maybe take it.
Okay, I talked about that one too. Because he's got some buyout, but I'm like UNC will pay this buyout 100%.
I think he's happy at Bama. Like he didn't want to go interleague to like at Kentucky. That wasn't worth it. He's got it rolling at Bama, but like you get to play Duke twice a year if you're the North Carolina coach. You know.
Yeah.
And to be a guy who as a high school math teacher to coach at North Carolina, I think he would take it.
Okay, came up with Nate Oates, and then like my off the wall ones were like. Probably not anymore. Like Dusty May and Todd Golden, like not anymore. Like I don't know though. Like UNC is such a prestigious school in like some of these guys' eyes. It's like I think they would take it, but I don't know though.
I don't think Dusty would leave except for Indiana.
Okay,
which is crazy.
That's just like
league, but that's just what
that was the one that I was curious about.
Todd Golden. Florida's the thing I don't get. Like remember when people were trying to say maybe Dan Hurley would. I mean Dan Hurley for the Lakers is one thing, but Dan Hurley for Kentucky, it's like UConn's won more national championships than Kentucky, and Florida's probably won the second most national championships since the century, right? So like, why
leave? Yeah,
who's making the rules for what's a better? I don't know. Like
it's a pure historic, like prestigious thing. But I agree. Like you're probably in a better spot.
Won the title in 2003. Like now they're not even in the Big East anymore. Like I don't know how much the history stuff. I don't know.
No, I agree. So I wonder if that does happen, and like it stinks because like. UNC does not have their best player for this tournament. So like, it's kind of unfair to say if they like lose to VCU or they lose to Illinois, but I wonder if they would go in a different direction.
Bryce Drew is interesting. I mean, they just built a new stadium and they've been so consistent. I know the wheels kind of fell off quickly, but they didn't think that their rival, not their direct rival, but a conference rival would just pluck their point guard. You get a 5'10" point guard. You're probably like, we're going to have this dude for a couple years. And he just got taken from you. And that kind of messed everything up. If Rob Wright was on Baylor this year with Cam Carr and Tunde and Justin Bodo didn't get in a jet ski accident, they had a giant 7-foot rim protector instead of James Najee, who doesn't know how to play basketball, I think Baylor would have been pretty damn good. So I still think they'll have it back on track next year.
Well, I thought he meant Scott Drew, but did he mean Grand Canyon's coach? Because I didn't know who Bryce Drew was.
Oh my God. I'm thinking about Scott.
No. I had to look him up because I didn't know it. And that's like the casual I am. But I was like, wait, they had Rob Wright in Grand Canyon last year?
No, okay. I don't know what Bryce Drew at where?
He's at Grand Canyon. I don't know. He might have been.
I don't know who he's implying.
Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's still the UNC topic.
We were both.
Okay. That's funny.
All right, this was an awesome stream. I literally can't believe. I know Matt's been in the YouTube space much longer than me, so maybe he's probably seen some streams with much bigger things. But I cannot believe that a stream I'm hosting has 636 people. I had 636 subscribers like in September.
No, and still, I mean, dude, it's such an exciting time, and people want to hear your opinion about college basketball because it's all coming together. And this is like the next 4 days and 4 weeks are going to be amazing.
Absolutely. Well, appreciate everyone for coming on. Matt, thank you so much for joining. We'll have to do some more draft talk soon. Thank you, everyone. And I'll post my final. People are bugging me about my final bracket. I'll post it in the morning.
There you go. All right. See you, Christian. Thanks for having me.
Peace. Go Red Hawks.
Peace.